Hey, why are runners so good at remembering things? Well, because it's easy for them to jog their memories, of course. I know, bit of a stretch, huh? 102 degrees. That's how hot it's supposed to be today. So here I am at 6 a.m. running 13.1 miles. You know, ever since last year's training for the half Ironman, I've become a little bit lazy about running in the morning and getting in the training early on. And even for the marathon I had, which was in December, the training block was nice because it was mostly in the fall and allowed me to be able to go on runs midday because it wasn't too hot. But here in Sacramento County, it gets a little toasty in the summer, so I guess I'm gonna have to get used to running early again, which is not easy. As you may have guessed, this is the long run here in week 6 of Ironman training. And while technically I'm only supposed to do an hour and a half of running, I'm still planning on getting in the full 13.1 miles, which, depending on how slow I go, may only be about 20 minutes longer or so. I'm currently at about 8:30 pace, which is, according to my watch, too fast because it keeps yelling at me saying, hey, stop going so fast. But yesterday I had a speed workout on the bike, which now my legs are cooked because I went pretty hard on that one and averaged over 19.5 miles per hour or thereabouts for an hour. And now my legs are a little tired, which is making today's run even harder. Well, here I am just a couple days later doing my long bike ride for the week. Today I've got a total of 3 hours and 45 minutes, which should be pretty close to 70 miles. But I'll put up the Strava results after the fact to let you know how it went. But yeah, I'm just a couple days later, and my legs today, I woke up feeling still pretty fatigued. But although I was concerned for a little while, after I warmed up, I felt pretty good. And today's pace really is supposed to be at zone 2, so pretty conversational. So I'm partially using you all to hold me accountable to that pace and continue to stay at conversational pace. Well, it's going to be over 100 degrees again today, and you saw in the opening montage that I had 4 water bottles that I put on my bike. So 2 of them are filled with the Goo Roctane mix, which I've mentioned before when I was out on a trail run a few weeks ago. One of them is an element packet, so lots of electrolytes, and one of them just pure water. And there's a number of stops, luckily, along this bike trail that have water fountains, so I can continue to fill up just the water itself. But something I realized during last weekend's bike ride, which was 65 miles, was that I was super thirsty. And I'll say that the benefit of being on the bike on a hot day is that you're feeling the wind, so your body's cooling down a little bit more, which is nice. But you're still losing lots of sweat because the sun's just beating down on you the whole time. And I did not pack enough water or electrolytes last weekend, which, as you can imagine, is not a super comfortable situation. So I'm trying to mitigate that this week by packing some extra electrolytes and making sure that I'm staying on top of my carb and electrolyte intake. Now, for each of the last 5 of the weekly training recaps that I've been doing, I really tried hard to make sure that there was a theme. I kind of brought everything together, the things that I was experiencing for the week. And this week, I was really racking my brain trying to figure out what could that theme be for this week. And upon reflection, this has been probably the hardest week so far, just in terms of fatigue and soreness. And so I think the theme for this week should be endurance, and just the challenge it really is to train your body to get accustomed to the endurance you need to do a race like this on your left. I think part 2, and this is something that I'll talk a little bit more about back in the run section when I throw it back to myself, is that that's kind of the point of the endurance training, right? Is that you have to learn to continue to push and keep going when you're fatigued. The main point of long rides like today is really to make your aerobic endurance better, to really train your body to be able to go for long distances and long periods of time. And so it's really important during rides like the one today to practice the things you're going to be doing the entire time on race day. And one of those things is staying in narrow position, just like I am now. Now, I've talked about how that's been a challenge to get accustomed to, because this is my first time really ever trying to do that. But it's slowly gotten better. My back has become more comfortable. I've adjusted my positioning so that it's more sustainable throughout long periods of time. But I still find myself at the ends of the bike rides super fatigued. My back is really tired, and my legs of course as well. But I think that's the whole point, right? Is that it continues to get easier and easier, except for the end. The end, no matter what, always feels challenging. But you really have to lean into that feeling, because if you stop once it gets hard, you're never going to improve. But if you continue to push while it's challenging, you're going to see much more gains, and you're going to become faster, stronger, and have more endurance in the long run. And after all, that's kind of what we're shooting for, right? But anyway, while I've been out there on the bike, I know that the other Steven has been still pushing hard on his 13.1 mile run. So I'll pass it back to him, because I know he's got a few more thoughts for you. And that's the point of the training for an endurance race. Learning to continue to keep going when you're fatigued. But despite the fatigue, I want to convey how grateful I am to be out here. To paraphrase one of my favorite quotes about training, not everyone gets to exercise, or in today's case, run, but we get to. Thanks so much for joining, as always. And be sure to subscribe for more training and fitness content, and maybe even a terrible pun or two. And I'll catch you in the next one.